Hi, welcome to the Pearls and Polish podcast, episode 74. I'm your host, Rachel, coming to you from just outside Sacramento, California. If you're a new viewer, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. This is my little corner of the internet where I talk mostly about knitting, some crochet, and what other crafty things I happen to be up to. You can find links to my Instagram and Ravelry accounts in the description below, along with all of the dyers, designers, and makers that I mentioned in today's episode. As you can see, we are back in the kids' room today. Right now, this is kind of the most open space on a Sunday afternoon in my very full house. So we're going to be back here. I don't know if we'll end up in the other room again, but for the most part, this is where I do my recording in my kids' bedroom with their closet right behind me. So you might see some toys kind of on this side from their toy stuffed animal collection, but this is where I normally record. But we are going to start with works in progress, or WIPs. I don't have any finished objects to show this week, so we'll just start with the works. Where is my little tag? So I'm starting with my Freckled Whimsy Yarn of the Month. I'm doing her yarn club for 2025, and I've really been enjoying doing hand-dyed self-striping yarns. That's what Freckled Whimsy is most known for. I don't know if she does not self-striping yarns, but this is on her Serendipity base 7525 superwash merino nylon. 460 yards, 100 grams, 4-ply fingering, and this month's colorway is called Puddle Jumping, and it is an 8-stripe repeat. So last month's was 6 stripes. This time it is 8 stripes. So I'll show it to you in the cake, and it is this really pretty, I don't know if it's focusing or not, kind of not muddy, but definitely toned down cooler colors. Let me see if that, oh yeah, that will give you a better view. So I really like these cooler, muted colors. So I'll show you my progress. Here is my sock. So I use these little pins on all of my socks to count how many stripes I have, or not stripes, how many rows I have. Since I don't like counting any higher than 10, every 10 rows I put a little pin in, and so it's easier for me to count pins than it is to count rows. Because when it's 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, I don't want to be counting any higher than 10. But I'll show you the back end so you can see kind of without the pins what these colors are like. And I really love these more muted colors. So in the subscription, you could get just the skein, or you can get the skein and the mini. And I opted for just the skein of self-striping yarn. And I've seen the socks done with the corresponding mini, and they look beautiful. And I got a little FOMO of maybe I should change my subscription and get the mini as well. But I have so many minis and so many partial skeins in my stash that I decided I was going to go diving into my stash to see if I could find a mini that matched. And this one matched the most. I actually pulled out this purplish color, wine color, and a couple blues and I think a green. And that is the one that matched the most to this one. It's not an exact match. And at one point I almost took it out and started over. And I kind of had to wrestle with myself as far as it's not going to be an exact match because it wasn't dyed by the same person and it wasn't dyed with the same dye recipe, and I need to be okay with that. So this is the mini that I have. It's a little warmer in tone from what the rest of it, but it was close enough. I wasn't planning on using it for the toe. I was just going to use it for the cuff and the heel. So it's close enough where it'll work and it'll look great. But I just kind of needed to let go that it was not going to be an exact match. So I am all the way done with my leg. I'm ready to start my heel. So that is going to get started probably today. But one thing I did want to talk about was the needles that I'm using. I love the Chalgu red lace needles. Those are my favorite needles. I have them in almost every size and almost every needle length. I love how sharp they are, how long and like pointy the tip of the needles are. I love that the cable is really flexible and it doesn't kink. I love everything about those needles. However, I have these, I think these are Addy Rocket squares. Let's see if the cable says. If I can twist it around. I'm pretty sure these are Addy Rocket squares. But these are square needles. I'm gonna see if you'll be able to see that. They're kind of, hide my face. They're kind of ridged, they're kind of textured, and they have 4 sides to them, whereas traditional knitting needles are round, they're smooth. And the idea is that for people who have gripping issues or maybe starting to get arthritis, that they would be able to hold on to their needles without fighting too much with trying to hold something round and slippery, and that's supposed to be easier on your hands. So I have these in my stash and I use them every once in a while and I like them. I like the square textured feel of the needle. I don't have arthritis. I don't have issues with gripping. So that isn't like a must have for me. I do have 2 complaints though with these needles. One is that the tips are not as sharp and as pointed I would like. To me, I mean, they're fairly sharp, but I want them just a little bit sharper. I have to be very aware of my knitting that I don't split the yarn. And my other complaint is the cable. The cable is not like a memory cable. Once it kind of gets a shape, like I have some kinks here towards the needle. If that will show up better. But once it kind of gets its shape, it's going to stay that way. I know there are ways that you could use boiling water to kind of reshape them, but the thought of boiling my needles every time I want to use them is not for me. So I like them. I wish that Chalgu would do a version of this with like a textured square needle. With the sharper point and the memory cable. But these have been great. So if you're looking for a different needle to try, I would suggest the Addy Rocket Squares. If you have tried square needles and you have a favorite brand, I would love to hear about it. The only other thing is that I knit my socks in a 2.5 millimeter needle. And most knitters knit theirs in a 2.25. So that's kind of the standard US 1. Mine would be considered a US 1.5. And that's just because my tension is so tight when it comes to sock knitting that I need to go up just a little bit in needle size to be able to get a nice comfortable gauge. But if you have sock needles that you really like that are squared, I would love to hear about them. But that is my July socks so far, and I've been really enjoying doing something a little different, but not too different. The pattern, I didn't even talk about the pattern. The pattern I'm doing are my foundation socks. This is my vanilla sock pattern. It's free on Ravelry. Link to that is down below. But I just wanted to let the yarn do its thing, and with July being so busy, I wanted something that was going to be very repetitive and comfortable, that I wouldn't have to carry a pattern around for. So that is my first whip. So my second whip, my second work in progress, is my Rainbow Ripple baby blanket. And I know there have been quite a few makers who have done this blanket who are on YouTube. The one that comes to mind first is Kayla of the Crazy Sock Lady, and I think it's Shanae, the Sock Princess. She's done one recently, but this is a crochet blanket and it's a circle. So it is, let's see how well this will show up. So it is this big circle blanket and it's got kind of like these points. So it kind of looks like a star. And I have been really enjoying doing this blanket. The yarn I'm using is an Advent leftover from, I want to say 2022, maybe 2023. This is kind of deep stash. This is the last of my Advents that I have in stash that I didn't use completely. So this Advent is by Yarnaceous, and I've really enjoyed her yarns. Everything is dinosaur themed, so this was part of the Dinotopia Advent. And I used parts of the skeins to make 2 pairs of high desert socks. And those are in my Ravelry page, and I really enjoyed it, but I wanted to use the rest of the mini skeins since I didn't use all 20 grams of each color. So I had started a blanket, it did not go well. I had started a second blanket and that didn't go well either. So I had made these giant knot balls and caked them up with all of the remaining yarn I had in order. And they've just kind of been sitting for like 2-3 years. So this felt like the time to start this blanket. So I'm holding it double with just plain old white yarn. I think this is from, I have no idea where it's from. But this is where I'm at in my first magic knot ball. I had to have 2 because I just had too much yarn. I was not wise when I started this blanket, and I did not like mark where my colors were. So I think I'm starting color 5. The hard part is right here in the middle, like this transition from color 1 to color 2 is very subtle. And then, you know, it's a little more obvious when it goes to color 3, and color 4 is a little more on the red side. But some of the color transitions are very subtle. So I'm pretty sure I'm on color 5, but I didn't count. But we're going into kind of these reds, yellowy reds, which is going to transition to like a red purple, and then we'll go into purple. And then we go to the second skein, which is a mess right now, as you can see. But we'll do purples kind of on this end. It's so messy. This is driving me nuts. And then it will move to light blues, and then blue greens, and then I think it goes into green yellows. So this is moving along fairly quickly. The nice thing about crochet is it uses up a lot of yarn, which is great. The downside of crochet is I need to be very careful with my wrists. I have some prior injuries from working at a library with my wrists and then having kids and not being very self-aware when I was picking them up. So I did some damage to my wrists. So I just need to be very careful as far as how long I crochet and how I'm crocheting to make sure I don't injure myself. But the other thing that I did not think about is 20 grams is a lot of yarn. That's usually around 92 yards. And these are not full 20 gram mini skeins. They're probably closer to 10 to 15 grams. So it's still a lot of yardage. And so I kind of have to adjust expectations as far as I'm going to get through 1 mini skein a day, because that's not going to be very realistic with all the things that we have going on in July. Ideally, I'd like to finish this blanket by the end of the month, but I don't know if that's going to be super realistic. So I'm going to let go of that goal right now. It gets done when it gets done, and it's been sitting for 2 to 3 years anyways. So what's another month, you know? So that has been super fun. I've really enjoyed kind of doing this and having that meditative stitch, and I don't have to think super hard. I'll see if I can back up a little bit. I don't have to think super hard on like what I'm doing. I just need to follow kind of the established pattern and just keep crocheting. So make sure you check out that pattern. It is free on Ravelry, and that's going to be linked down below as well. All right, so we are celebrating 800 subscribers here on the channel. And I mentioned this in last week's episode, but when I had told my sister we had hit 800 subscribers, she was so excited. And I tried to be like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's only 800. Like, that's not a big number. And she did remind me that if you were to take 800 people and stick them all in a room, it would be a lot of people. 800 people are more than like how many people went to my high school. that's probably 2 to 3 times that many people. So she was great as far as perspective of that's a lot of people. So we did a giveaway last week for 2 skeins of yarn. These are from my personal stash. And this is Woolberry's I think it's Summer Hedgerow. Yeah, Summer Hedgerow and Ginny's Bracelet. And these were exclusive colorways from their lit boxes from last year. These were both from the same collection, and these are 2 of my favorite colors. When I got married, my wedding colors were green and purple. When we had our baby showers, they were green and purple. I have always loved that kind of lavender purple and that kind of dark grayish green. So I love these 2 colors together. And in my way of saying thank you for following the channel, watching the episodes, liking and subscribing, I wanted to say thank you with a giveaway. So I have gone through every single comment, and I do read every single comment. And I did a random number generator, and so our winner is on the screen. Congratulations. Please send me an email by, let's see, July 13th. That is a Sunday. It is exactly 1 week from today. My email is in the description below. Please send me an email with your mailing address and I will get those out to you quickly. Congratulations again, and thank you again for supporting this channel and for helping me reach the goal of 800 subscribers. All right, moving into what I'm reading and watching. I'm still reading the book, what is it called? The Lady's Road Guide to Utter Ruin by Alison Goodman. I talked about this in last week's episode. It is kind of set in Victorian times, but it's not the like warm, fluffy Bridgerton high Regency type book. It does show some of the darker sides of that time period. So it's been a great read. I love how kind of snarky the main character is. So check that one out. And then for shows, I'm still watching Once Upon a Time. I'm in season 4. So I have about 3 more seasons to go before I finish that. I've watched it all the way through, I think once, and I've started it over a couple times. But I'm hoping to get through the whole show again, just so I can remember what happens in the entirety of the story. In my house, we're a multi-generational household, and so my husband's grandmother lives with us as well, and her health has not been good, and so she watches a lot of TV, which is kind of what she's limited to right now. And so she needed a new show, and we try to find shows that have lots of episodes so she can enjoy them for a while. So I started her on this show as well, and she's been really enjoying it. So if you haven't watched it, it's on Disney+. It revisits a lot of kind of old traditional fairy tales, or like Disney version of fairy tales, and gives them a little spin. So that's been a lot of fun to watch again. So we'll move into life updates. I realized last week after I had finished recording, I never did life updates. So we'll combine kind of end of June and beginning mid-July for this week's episode. So end of June, my husband and I celebrated 13 years of being married. We try and do a little getaway around our anniversary, just the 2 of us, just to kind of reset. Since we're both in education, summer actually feels like the beginning of our year, since everything we do is revolved around the school calendar. So it's really nice to get away, spend some quality time together, and just kind of get ready for the upcoming year. So we went up to Nevada City, which is up the hill into kind of the foothills, and just enjoyed a night away and had great food and great conversation and got to spend some time together. And then we came back down and we have hit the ground running with all of the things. This summer has felt very busy. There hasn't been a lot of downtime, which has been great in that there hasn't been a chance for my kids to say that they're bored, which we always love. But it just feels like very busy. Especially for me and the type of work that I do. It's just one thing after another. It's just go, go, go. So entering the second half of our summer, so kids go back to school mid-August out here on the West Coast. So trying to start to fit in all the last minute things since summer is ending quickly. But we have been enjoying time together as a family. We haven't done a ton of trips, which in a way has been fine because that means I don't have to plan a ton of trips. But we've been enjoying our time together as a family. And then coming up in the rest of July, one of my kids has a birthday coming up, so we're starting to do little birthday things here and there. One of the things they wanted to do was an escape room, so we got to try that for the first time, and that was a lot of fun. We did not escape in time. We were on the last puzzle and we ran out of time. But the place that we had gone to, the person who was kind of running our game was super sweet, gave us a lot of hints, since it was my two kids and then my husband and I, my sister and my mom. And so she was very helpful as far as getting us to where we needed to go. And she actually let us finish the puzzle to be able to finish our escape room. But we were off by like 5 minutes. But that was a really great experience and she really enjoyed it. And then that same kid is getting ready for her black belt test. So we do martial arts, we do Taekwondo. And so she is at the point where she's preparing to test for her black belt. So she has so many blocks and so many strikes and so many kicks that she has to perform in front of her instructors and family and friends and the rest of the class. And then she has to break 2 boards. So we have started preparing for that. So that's been very exciting, but it's also kind of a practice in ownership as far as, did you practice your punches or your kicks or your blocks that you need to do? Did you perfect the ones that you were asked to perfect, or are you continuous to practice them? So I'm trying to let her kind of take ownership and, let her do it at the same time. It's like, but don't forget to practice. So trying to find that balance, but she's very excited. She's been doing a lot of hard work in getting ready for this test. So that's going to come up late August. So we will end with that. Thank you so much for spending a bit of time with me this beautiful Sunday afternoon. I always enjoy spending time with all of you, sharing what I'm working on and things I'm learning. Make sure you like and subscribe so you know every time an episode comes out, and I will see you guys for the next one.